Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be hosting a webinar here about the countdown to BI 2025. My name is Alan Golding, Solution Consulting Manager at APOS. Just to go over some of the topics we'll cover today. So we'll have some introductions with our guests with us today. We'll go over some SAP Business Objects portfolio strategy. We'll talk about the key themes of BI 2025. We'll talk about what's coming with BI 2025 as well as a live demonstration. We'll have some maintenance policies and timelines, and then also talk about how you can prepare and automate your migration to BI 2025. Then at the end, we'll have a Q&A. So if you're familiar with or GoToWebinar software, there's a questions panel, and feel free to input any questions you have for our guests or ourselves, and we will get to those as soon as we can. A little bit about APOS. We've been around since 1992. We develop software solutions which enable BI platform management. We cover main areas of SAP Business Objects, SAP Analytics Cloud, and Hybrid BI as well. Just some housekeeping. So you will have access to these slides via email shortly after the presentation. You will get also a link to the recording within 24 hours of the presentation. In the download section of the GoToWebinar panel, there's also a download for the handouts. And we'll have a survey at the end as well. We encourage you to take part in that and let us know how we did. All right, so what we're here is BI 2025, and this is our countdown clock basically for BI 2025. So we've just over 27 days left before the release of BI 2025, which we're all excited about. In our last session in the fall, this was our markers, our roadmap that we had for SAP Business Objects, and the road on the very left-hand side there, you can see that at that time, SAP BI 2025 was announced for Q1 2025, as well as Business Objects 4.3, SP5, and also BI 2027. Fast forward to today, we now have an exact date when BI 2025 will be released. So that's on March 12th, 2025. So again, very excited to have that roadmap. Very excited to see BI 2025 get released and adopted. We're going to do some poll questions here to begin with. So I'm just going to lay out two questions here. The first one here, I'm just going to start. So if you could please participate in the poll the best you can, and we will share the results. So the first question here, what version of Business Objects are you currently running? So we'll just give you a couple of more minutes here to respond to that, and we'll share out the results here, and then we'll just have another question shortly after that as well. Okay, so we see a lot of input here. Well, that's great. We really appreciate your input here. Just a few more seconds. All right, so we'll close that question out and we'll share the results. So as you can see here, 89% of you are currently on BI 4.3, which is excellent. There is 11% of you still on 4.2. Okay, so let's go to the next question. And we'll launch this one out. So when will your next Business Objects version upgrade be? If you could fill that out the best you can, we'll share out the results here shortly after that as well. Just a few more seconds here. Great responses coming in here. All right, I'll bring that one to a close and we'll share that out. So 11% of you currently migrating, 24% in the next 6 months, 28% in the next 6 to 12 months, 17% in more than a year, and 20% of you no plans to currently upgrade as of yet. Okay, so that's great. Let's continue on here. So I want to introduce you to our special guest today. We are privileged to have two members of SAP with us joining here today. We have Eric Fenolosa, who's the Head of Product Management, Augmented Analytics at SAP. We also have Gregory Buticchio, Director, Analytics Product Management at SAP also. Before we share things over to them for their presentation, Eric and Gregory, not to put you on the spot, but I think given the size of our audience here today, I think people would love to hear how you guys got to where you are, what was your kind of background and where you got to. So yeah, if each one of you could share a little bit of information about that, I think everyone would really be interested to hear.
Gregory, please start.
Okay, I can start. So welcome everyone. My name is Gregory Batijo. I joined SAP through the business object acquisition, which means that I started with business objects in around the year 2001, so a long time ago, as a support engineer, and I moved to different positions. And lastly, I joined several years ago the product management on SAP business objects. That's it.
And myself, Eric, I joined through an acquisition as well, a bit later than Gregory, but all my career in software development and analytics as well.
That's great. Thanks, Eric and Gregory. Really appreciate that background information. Very for that. So yeah, let's get started. Gregory, I'll pass presenter rights over to you so we can get started into the presentation. Great, we can see your screen.
Okay, that's great. So I will start. So Eric speaking. I will start with some slides, and the lion's share of this presentation will be with Gregory with a live demo of the actual product. This usual disclaimer. So, of course, the release of the product, as Alan said, is in exactly a month from now. So, what we will share in as for the product will probably be exactly the same, but it's mostly for this slide, which is a roadmap, and those are plans. And I'm sharing with you the plans as we see them today. But of course, as everything which is in future, this is subject to change. So I was really happy to see that only 11% of you are still running for the 2. So I'm sure you know by now that for 2 is not supported anymore. So I really encourage you to plan for your upgrade. And actually your upgrade can be done either in for the 3, which is the only supported version at that time, or directly in BI 2025, which will be available in the months from now. So you've seen some versions of this slide many times, I know. I will try to highlight the recent changes. So the first one is regarding folder 3, we have changed a bit the mainstream and support policy. So first, we have extended the mainstream maintenance by a year until end of 2026. And rather than having, previously we were calling it P1 support, so which meant that we were only fixing priority 1 issues. Now we are aligning with the rest of SAP products, and we will fix during this year, 2027, potential vulnerabilities, and there is this standard classification of security issues, and we will fix those with a severity greater than 7.0. So this is really similar with what we are doing with P1 support. Another change we've introduced recently is adding some customer-specific maintenance. So it's not available for further 2, unfortunately. It will be available from further 3 on and the next releases. During customer-specific maintenance, you can open a ticket. Support will help you, will try to reproduce your issue. In the positive case, there will be a workaround or a fix on the version you're using. So here in this example for the 3, so this is the positive case. The less positive case is that we reproduce the issue on for the 3, but the fix is only existing on a subsequent release, and we will ask you to go on this next release. So in other words, during customer-specific maintenance, the version is supported, but we do not deliver fixes. So it can be okay if your environment is completely stable. There is a certain level of risk not to be on the latest version. So now going forward, we are introducing a new way of numbering the versions, with the next one, BI 2025, followed by BI 2027 in 2 years from now. And I will explain the main reason for this naming change in the next slides. But what is here the important for you is to consider BI 2025 as a 4.4 in terms of gap, in terms of effort to upgrade from the previous releases. And you can see BI 2027 as a next support package. So it's really similar to what we were doing before with support packages every year. Now we have a support package or a minor version every 2 years. And we do that to really address a concern from many customers that we were releasing too often and that this was really difficult to keep up to date to the latest versions. Each of those versions will be in mainstream maintenance during 3 years, followed by 1 year of security fixes, and then followed by customer-specific maintenance. As of today, we are committing on, so we will deliver BI 2025, and we're committing on BI 2027, and we are currently discussing internally the opportunity to announce already BI 2029. I can't announce it today because it's not completely cleared out, but hopefully I'll be able to do that in a short term. And when we can announce that, we will update the SAP Analytics Statement of Direction. So you will have the link with the slide, which is the reference document when it comes to business objects strategy. Entering into a lower level of detail, for each version, we will obviously deliver fixes in patches if needed. And the pace will be a cumulative patch every 6 weeks during the 2 first years, and then every 8 weeks. So I changed this slide recently. There was a gray line with branches and explaining that we were synchronizing on-premise and private cloud edition. So I changed that. But of course, we still have, or you still have the choice to deploy business objects either on-premise or as managed cloud. Of course, here on this slide, you can see that there is another option in the middle, which is to keep paying the maintenance and bringing your licenses into infrastructure as a service. And here on this slide, you can see that you can move from managing everything by yourself, which is the blue bar, to delegating the infrastructure and some maintenance to SAP through private cloud edition. And on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see that there is even an option where you need, for any reason, you need to have your hardware on your premises, but you want to delegate some maintenance to SAP. We have an option to that for that, which is called Customer Data Center option. But in this case, you need to run hardware which is certified by SAP. So takeaway here, you still have the choice, and you will continue to have the choice to run business objects either on-premise or through a managed cloud. So this is a slightly changed version of a slide you've seen zillions of times already, but it's still super important to understand that from BI 2025 on, there will be some components which will not be available anymore. Namely, Lumira Discovery, Crystal Reports for Enterprise, Analysis for Live Office, and UNV Universes, which means that before upgrading to BI 2025, you need to move away those components which are not available. So for Universes, you need to migrate UNVs to UNX. And if you were using, or if you are using one of the deprecated components, you need to shift your workflows in the supported ones. The main reason is really to rationalize and to optimize our maintenance resources. And we chose to continue maintaining and enhancing the most adopted tools, starting with Web Intelligence, Crystal Reports. For Analysis for Office and Lumira Designer, we are entering a maintenance-only mode. We know those tools are super popular, so we will keep supporting them, but we will not have any new feature. And for those two ones, the clear recommendation is to go to SAP Analytics Cloud for those use cases. This slide, you've seen it already several times as well. Just to mention that we propose the two solutions. We have for each component a blog explaining what is the route to move away, and we are committed to support you in case you face challenges. In terms of platforms, we will not support anymore AIX and Solaris. We will focus on Windows and Linux. And as you probably know by now, Crystal Reports 22 services only work on Windows since BI 4.3 SP2. So now coming to the topic of today, so again, Gregory will go through a demo in details of Web Intelligence. And here I will really highlight some key elements of the other part of the portfolio. And starting with the themes, the main themes, and maybe there is a theme number 0, which is not indicated here, but this is super important, which is keep everything working as before. And this is really a mantra I have repeated to the developers that that's really important to have new features. And you will see we have great features to share with you. But I know as well that this is super important for you guys, that when you move to the next release, that everything which was working, that you don't want any surprise, and the reports, when you upgrade, the same reports need to behave the exact same way. So that is maybe the first priority. And then 3 things, helping IT to reach more users. And again, Gregory will show you what we've done in Webby. For Crystal Reports, the main area of development has been to catch up in Crystal Reports what was existing in Crystal Reports for Enterprise. There were few features that were specific to Crystal Reports for Enterprise that were stopping, so we brought them back in Crystal Reports, starting with supporting UNX, obviously. In terms of productivity, version after version, we try to make the life of the content creators easier, and this version make no difference. And for Crystal Reports, we have now RESTful SDKs. And of course, an area which is super important as well is to reduce or lower the cost of ownership, and it's more on the platform. So here, to be a bit specific, we have made conscious effort to simplify the migration projects. Again, we are hearing regularly the feedback from customers that moving from one version of one support package to the next one takes a lot of time and costs a lot of money. And here we have really made some improvements so that this is easier. We know that you often have complex landscape, and you are asking us to support the latest standards in terms of authentication. So here as well, we've made some improvements. And more end user feature, we have delivered the possibility to add directly some report paths, and typically Webby report paths, widgets, KPIs, directly visible from the Launchpad, which means that for certain type of users who are really only interested by high-level KPIs, they don't need to open a report anymore. They can connect to the Launchpad directly. For Crystal, I mentioned it already. So we have done everything that Crystal Reports for Enterprise customers or users can do exactly the same with Crystal Reports. And we have developed as well desktop viewer for Crystal Report, which was not existing only in Crystal Report Enterprise. And I mentioned the SDK already. Some details about what we've done to support connectivities. We have a new ACP BW driver, and we have, it's more than enhancing, we are now supporting relational UNX universes with Crystal Report. And so we have enhanced the query panel and everything which is linked to this theme. I know I'm rushing, but I really wanted to give enough time to Gregory. Gregory, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. So do you hear me okay? Yes? Okay. As far as Web Intelligence is concerned, we had three objectives. The first one was to develop, finally, a real dashboard inside Web Intelligence. Web Intelligence is positioned as a reporting tool, I would say, to generate transactional report. Now you can add to a document a real analytical report that you can name dashboard. So we have done what is necessary to achieve that. So the objective is about how can we reach new users, or I would say users who do not have access to the SAP Business Objects platform. To achieve that, we introduce a new output format called the Web Intelligence Document Extract, which is something that contains the data, the layout, the viz, the interaction, and this is completely autonomous, disconnected from business objects, and you can share it with whoever needed. And last but not least, because we are adding new capabilities into Web Intelligence, of course, we wanted to make sure that all the new things, all the new innovations we are proposing to all of you can be used by not only the experts, but also the beginners in business objects, specifically in Web Intelligence. Okay, this being said, I'm going to start a short demo of what I mean. Okay, do you see my screen? Yes, okay. I'm going to make it full screen. Here we go. You can still see it, perfect. So this is the BI 2025 Launchpad. And instead of showing you what I've just explained, we're going to start with the data mode, which is important when you want to create a dashboard or a report. For the data mode, I want to quickly remind you what we wanted to achieve with this new capability in business objects. So to access the data mode, which is available in the BI 4.3 Service Pack 4, you just have to select data here. You will enter the new interface that proposes you several things. The first one is the ability to view all the data contained in your document, whatever the query is. For example, here I have a query on eFashion universe, the second query on HANA, SAP HANA. I have some data coming from Excel and some others coming from a TXT file. I can preview all of them, right? That's the meaning of the screen in the upper section of the screen. I can do this second query, I can do the third query, and I can view the last query, of course. Not only can I preview my data, because I can see all the data set if I want. This is quite easy. I can explore them. And exploring the data is a kind of being able to see every occurrence, every lines aggregated, for example, for year. I can see that for year I have only three things, 2017, 2018, and 2019. I can do this for everything. Not only can I explore the data, but I can change the data in one click. We call this transformation. For example, if I want to change y.2020 in 2020, I have predefined actions such as uppercase, lowercase, replace, trim, fill. But if I want to replace, I just have to type y.something, replaced by nothing. And that's it. And my transformation is applying directly for the dimension here. Same thing for quarter, for example. If I want to change that, I just have to click on replace, type the string I would like to be replaced, choose by what, here's nothing, validate, and that's it. So as you can see, oh, sorry. This is really easy. You can achieve that really in one click. And this is already available to all of you since the BI 4.3 Service Pack 4. The last thing you can do is to synchronize the different queries. Here I have 4 queries. I have sales from 2017 to 2019 and sales from 2020 to 2022. What I can do, of course, I can join the 2 datasets by choosing append, which will add the data from the first query to the second query and generate what we name a virtual group here in green. This is pretty powerful, right? Because immediately after this join action or append actions, I immediately can preview the result of these synchronizations. So this is really easy to use, and this is dedicated for not only the IT department, but also for the power user who have this kind of use case. We want to access the corporate data for universities, but want to synchronize data coming from a universe with a local Excel file or a local TXT file or whatever. And they can do this really step by step. The idea behind the scene is I have 4 queries, but at the end, I want only one data set that are going to be used to create my report, or if I want, I can share it with my users in order to create another Web Intelligence document. And to achieve that, you introduce, of course, the ability to hide all the data sets, all the objects that you do not want to expose to your end user. Okay, this until now, all the things I've just mentioned and all the things I've done is already available since the BI 4.3 Service Pack 4. Now let's talk about what we introduce with the BI 2025. Okay, if we come back to, for example, the merged dataset here, you can transform your data thanks to the formula editor. You can do it directly on an existing column or an existing dimension. For example, you just have to click to select one state and click on formula. And here we go. Here you have access to most of the formula language to apply any transformation that you would like, right? So this is really powerful. You can even use an if then else statement in your formula to transform your data. Here, I'm going to do a simple concatenation. I'm going to concatenate state with city. And here we go. Validate. And here I have California and Los Angeles. So that's one option. The second option is to create a new variable. We call this variable, but in fact, this can be a dimension which is part of your dataset. So you have to open here the available object, second plus, formula editor will open. You decide if it is a dimension, measure, or a detail. Here we're going to call this test variable. I'm going to do exactly the same things, right? I'm going to concatenate city. Here we go. Plus up space and state, just to make things simple. And validate. And what it will have generated is a new column in your dataset. Okay, here there is a mismatch. I have some names that repeat because I'm using the state here, which is composed of California, Los Angeles, plus Los Angeles, which gives me this volume string. But the fact is, everything is dynamic, which means that, for example, if I decide to transform in uppercase city, the new added column will also be in uppercase as a result, right? And last thing, the new added column here is not a variable. This is considered as a new dimension, which is part of the cube here. Right? And this will be displayed as a dimension and not an added variable, which means that when you will share this data set with your end user, you will completely hide the complexity of the things you will have done in the data mode to them. They will only see the resulted objects in this case. So that's a new thing, the ability to transform your data thanks to formula language. And the second thing we have improved in the data mode is the operator. So like I mentioned, you have the append, but with the BI 2025, you are adding the right join here and the right join without intersection. which means that you have the full list of operations of operator to join your dataset to create whatever you want. And that's it. That's all I wanted to show you regarding the data mode with Business Objects BI 2025. Now let's come back to the core of the innovation we introduced with BI 2025. Like I said, our first objective was to provide you the ability to create engaging dashboard. To achieve that, we did several things. So first of all, the first thing, we work on the layout. Now inside Web Intelligence, we have layout, which is the canvas used where you place your informations, your block, your chart, your table, that can fit easily and precisely the size of your screen, right? That's the case here in my demonstration. Second thing, we have a new, we call this component called widgets. This is a new chart library that we propose by default in Web Intelligence next to the existing charts. So this is an add and not a replacement, which means that all your existing report will work as is in BI 2025. But if you want, next to the existing table, next to existing charts that you provide, that you have provided, for example, since 4.0 and including BI 4.3, we have a new library based on SAP UI5. We call this widgets, and the widgets will allow you to build this. We have a widget that of type images where you can select whatever you want to insert in your dashboard. We have widgets called rich text. Rich text is important because this gives you the ability to enter complex string in your dashboard. You can achieve whatever you want by using the interface or by using HTML directly. We support HTML tags into this rich text widget, which give me the kind of things here. You can use icon with guided navigation. That's what you have here in the screen. And now let's navigate into this dashboard to access the first dashboard. This is the first example of a dashboard. And here we enter in the core of the enhancement provided with the BI 2025. First thing we provide to all of you is filters in the report in the dashboard. We have tokens used here that you can click to display different kind of things that you have predefined. For example, right? We have checkbox that let you choose, for example, the year that you would like to use and to filter in your dashboard again. And this really to put the interactions at the fingertips of your end user. You have drop-down list here that let you choose again, for example, a list of stores. Another kind of example here, I can deselect everything. So this is really to avoid to have all the filters in the interface. Now the filters are really part of your dashboard. You have new widgets of type charts, for example, that you can use to zoom in, zoom out. Well, it's not the case here. I'm going to add more information. Let me do this quickly. Here we go. I have to add more things. I think it is this one. Tac. Here we go. Yes. Don't know why this is not okay. Okay, never mind. So this is just to propose you new interactions inside the dashboard. So one thing we did, you know what a tooltip are, right? A tooltip is a small space where you can get details on the data point selected. We introduced in BI 2025 custom tooltip, for example, which means that you can decide what the data tooltip will display. For example, you can decide to, for a given data point, to display a simple chart in the context of your data point, and the context is given in the uppercase, in the upper part of the tooltip here, 2 pockets for the year 2018 Q1, and this is the simple bar chart. But you can go one step further and display multiple charts right? And to enable that, here we go. Here I have a complex tooltip composed of multiple charts. And the good thing is, okay, I have to add more information because it seems that I'm having less than expected. I'm going to repeat my test. Everything is, oh, no data. Why no data? Whoa, 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 whoa. No data. If I select all again, this is a demo effect. Here we go. Okay, so everything can remain interactive within this custom tooltip, and if you want, you can even achieve tooltip, custom tooltip on custom tooltip if you want to reach the next level of details. In fact, everything is possible, and to enable that, you do not have to write a single line of code. This is provided by default with the tool just by selecting the right options in the interface. The second thing we did, and this is still related to the new widgets, we have now scrollable table. So you don't have to generate a report with multiple pages. Everything can fit on the screen thanks to this scrollable table here, for example. Inside this scrollable table, we propose you the options to insert microcharts for the measures. And here is an example. We have 4 types of microcharts composed of bullets. Here you have pie chart, bullet chart, and RVBO. So again, to enable that, this is just a matter to select the right options. And you have a new kind of component called the show hide. They let you choose what you want to display. Here I have 2 options, but you can have multiple show hide options that will display different parts of your dashboard when you need it, when your user is requesting it. Last but not least, I mentioned the layout. We have all kinds of layout. We even propose you by default layout for a smartphone or a layout for a tablet. The fact is you will be able to design a dashboard that will perfectly fit the screen of a smartphone of your tablet. And again, you benefit of all the interaction proposed by the new BI 2025. If I come back to my first dashboard, and this is part of the demo, let me check the time. Yes, 8 minutes. I mentioned that you have a new web intelligence document extract. Today, if you want to share information, you just have to click export and you choose. You have the choice between Excel, PDF, HTML, TXT, CSV. With the BI 2025, we introduce a new format, and this is really powerful. We call this the web intelligence document extract, WIDX. This is composed of a file. You choose, for example, one dashboard. You select this one, the current one being displayed. You click on export, and this will generate a file which is completely disconnected from business objects. The file will contain the data, the layout, the views, the table, the filters in the dashboard, right? Everything in one file. I have to leave it to show you the result. Here, the GBO DME1, blah, blah, you click on keep. This will generate a zip file. Here we go. And if you unzip this file, I did it previously. This is the zip file, and if you unzip it, this will give us the content. And inside, we have not listing, apologize for that. I want the dashboard. Here, this will give this context and the WIDX document itself. And if you double click on it, this will open the WIDX file, which is really an extract of your dashboard, everything. And it's the analogy I'm using is it's a kind of PDF file, but with one page, but with interactions. And this is really what you are getting. So this is pretty much the same dashboard, and now I can continue to play with it. And this file is disconnected from business objects. You don't have to log in, right? And once you have generated this Redux file, you can share it with whoever you want, which means that you can take it and place it on a shared folder, on Google Drive, on Microsoft OneDrive. You can even use it for an internal portal or an external portal. And again, the good thing is this is really part of your licensing, which means that this is for free, right? You don't have to pay for additional licenses for that. This is part of a licensing model. Okay, the Redux. Now, if I show you quickly how you can achieve that quickly, if I enter the Redux mode, I will explain. I will show you a blank report. So we introduce new panels on the right to be this kind of dashboard. We have a new query panel here on the left that will let you select the data source you need, right? We have the new layout panel here. I have a layout by default, which is small monitor. You can select page, envelope, monitor, which is what I'm using. This can be a small monitor, a very small monitor, type 2. You choose. We have mobile, large mobile, small mobile, very small mobile. You choose, and tablet. If you are not happy with the default layout we are proposing, you can even change this because we propose you custom layout. So to access this, you click on it, and now you can specify precisely in pixel, in centimeters, or inches by keeping the ratio 16:9 or 4:3, or portrait and landscape. You define your choice, whatever you want. And last but not least, on the left, now we have the new widgets represented by this icon. So I'm going to insert, for example, a new scrollable table right here. I'm going to give it a decent size, for example, this. Here we go. And that. I'm going to do the filling. This is still on the right. I'm going to say query one. I'm going to add, let's say, I don't know, all this information. Here we go. All the measure on account. Here we go. I would like to display my measures as a microchart. So I go in the formatting area. I choose here. I choose discount. I would like this to be a bar chart. Done. I would like margin to be a bullet chart. Done, etc., etc. So this is really easy. Quantity sold. I would like this to be an R variable. And here we go. So you have everything. Now, doing that, I'm going to add a small filter quickly. Filter, I'm going to select a multi-list here. Again, I'm going to resize this. Done. Done. And I would like the filter to be based on the category. So I'm choosing the feeding category this way. And here we go. This is done. And last but not least, I'm going to add an image. So for an image, I think this is this area. It's a widget called image. I'm going to add it here. Oh, drag and drop again. I'm going to upload an image. I'm going here, browse, I'm going to select this one, prepare this, a banner, here we go. I would like to make it normal. And again, I resize this nicely. Here we go, pretty much in a few clicks, I've created a small dashboard. We save this. I would like to make it visible. And I'm going to now export this as a Redux. Export this as a Redux, the blank report, export. And now this is going to be outputted as a standalone dashboard, completely disconnected. I would like to keep it. I'm going to open the folder. Sorry, this is the wrong place. This is download. The last one, this one. Extract all. Okay. And this will end my demo. So the extraction is pretty long because of the antivirus. But once we have this,
Maybe can take advantage of this time to answer some questions I was not able to, specifically regarding Redux.
Okay.
But the first one is not on Redux. Is it possible to provide any Webby content in the Launchpad, or are there restrictions?
No, you can.
So no restrictions.
No restrictions. Okay, the unzip is done. If I double click on this, the Redux document now, I will get my dashboard, the one that I have just created. And that's it, right? This contains the data. This contains my scrollable table and the filter to focus on t-shirt or not everything. Here we go. And this is filter. So as you can see, this is really powerful. I did not even have to define the link between my widget of type filter and the scrollable table. This is done by default, but you still can choose what you want to filter in the design mode. But as you can see, this is really easy to put in place and to use. So this will mark the end of my demo, short demo. I would like to remind all of you that we have much more capabilities in BI 2025. And I really encourage all of you to look at the different publications that we made where we detail all the innovations included into the BI 2025. I would like to thank you all for your attentions, and that's it from my side. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Gregory and Eric. That was a great presentation. Lots of really great stuff to see there coming in BI 2025. That was the first time I seen a lot of that as well. So I'd like to highlight a couple of points that caught my interest, especially to do with migration. There was a lot of people asking about migration. So it's great to hear that there's been improvements made to not only the performance, but also it makes it easier, and also maintaining the current configuration version. I think those are all really important factors for making the migration as seamless as possible. Another point as well that was interesting is, especially for customers that are on Crystal reports for enterprise, it's great to hear that you're trying to basically replicate as much of the core functionality of Crystal reports for enterprise to standard Crystal reports. So I think that's a great feature there for Crystal users. and then onto the Webbies, especially for 2025, it looks like a lot more interaction, a lot more dynamic capabilities. I love the scrollable table, no longer having to, click the arrow button and go to the next page. It's just very easy and seamless to scroll down through the table. And I love the microcharts addition. I think that's really cool. But especially that WIDX, I think that's a pretty awesome feature. It looks like it's its own container of a mobile dashboard almost. It looked like it didn't happen the Webby Rich client when you opened up that file, and it just has its own container and it's interactive as well. So I think there's a lot of users going to get a lot of power and use out of that WIDX file. So overall, a really great presentation from you both, and we thank you for that. So let's continue. We have a lot of still great questions coming in, and thank you, Gregory, for working hard on getting through some of those questions. We'll get to try and get to as many more as we can towards the end here.
Yeah, maybe I can start with one. I think this is a really good one. How do Windows know that when you click on the WebEx that you that it needs to open a browser? How does that work?
Okay. In fact, when you click on the WebEx, we are not going to use your browser. The WebEx file contains its own browser in its architecture and technology. We call this Chromium. So which means we do not use your browser. WebEx has its own browser, and this is based on the Chromium technology. That's why I'm saying that the WebEx file is completely autonomous. When you give it, this is autonomous. You just click on it, and it will open itself. That's all. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Sounds like it's completely independent on any requirements for a specific browser or anything like that. So that's great. All right, so we just want to give you some review on some of the points we'd like to talk about with regards to preparing for your business objects future. So some of our recommendations here are take stock of what you have. You have to understand your current BI environment, what content that you have. Also assess and action unsupported content. Right size your system content, meaning reduce your technical debt from previous migrations. Upgrade your platform to the 4.3, upgrade universes to UNX, and automate for efficiency. Specifically for BI 2025, I want to focus on these 3 points for a moment. So first up is upgrade your platform to 4.3. So based on the poll question, that sounded like 89% of you are already on 4.3, which is great. Still a few of you on 4.2. So as Gregory already mentioned, Priority 1 support has now ended for that version. So highly recommend you make that a priority to migrate to 4.3 for this year. Next recommendation is assess and action unsupported content. Now, one of the questions that came in here is Lumira still supported in BI 2025? So you can see here, Lumira Discovery will not be supported in 2025, and the go-to solution would be Analytics Cloud. Now, obviously, with the power of Webby also there, especially with the WIDX feature, I think that will also be a nice maybe alternative there. But again, just to review what's not going to be supported in BI 2025, review what content of that do you use, and take steps to go through this recommended solution. And then finally, upgrading your universes to UNX format. As we know, UNV will be deprecated in BI 2025, and the go-to solution is obviously .UNX. And for anybody who uses multi-source universes, the go-to solution there is data blending within Web Intelligence at the database level, which I think is a great feature in Web Intelligence. We do have an upcoming event about automating your upgrading to UNX universes, so that will be focused on how APOS can help you in bulk migrate your Webby content and universes. That's coming up on February 27th. You can register now in the handouts section of GoToWebinar, or under the questions chat section, there'll be a link also to a page where you can register also. So if you're still on UNV and you need help with migration to UNX, highly recommend you attend that webinar. What we'll talk about there is how APOS can do bulk conversion of your universes, high volume of repointing of reports, and validating to make sure the upgrade is a success. On the right-hand side here, I'll draw your attention. We also offer a freemium option there for Web Migrator, so you can test it out in your own environment. We also had a session back in December 5th in 2024 about the effective preparation for BI 2025 and your next steps to upgrade. So there'll be a link here in the PDF handout if you want to take a look at that webinar also. Post the release of BI 2025, pretty much the day after of the release, we will have a release debrief and automating migration steps webinar. Again, we encourage you to register for that also. Just to talk about some of the solutions that APOS have specifically for business objects, whether it's auditing, monitoring, bulk management, automating, archiving and backups, publications or migration. We have a wide variety of tools there to help you with that. And for those of you who are also running SAP Analytics Cloud, we also have a fully enterprise-ready publication software solution for that as well, and also a live connectivity solution there with also import and extract and export connectivity options there also. We do encourage you to stay connected with us on LinkedIn under APOS Systems Inc. And we do have an SAP Analytics Cloud group there. We encourage you to join there for future discussion. All right, so as I mentioned, Gregory was working hard at getting through some of the questions already there. 4 questions coming in. So Gregory and Eric, if it's okay, I'll ask some of the questions that are here and if you can make a comment on those as well. One question here is, are there any improvements in BI 2025 for Crystal Report Viewer, since there are a lot of ongoing issues with the viewer currently?
So no, thank you very much for the question. Neither Gregory nor myself, we don't have the expertise or in-depth knowledge on Crystal Report. So for all the questions you've asked, if you don't mind, please send me an email directly at eric.melosa@sap.com and I will redirect to the experts.
Okay, great. Are there any real options to configure format using CSS in this 2025 version? And Gregory, you've already answered that, so I'll read it out here, your answer. Yes, for every new widget we have provided in BI 2025, for example, the charts, we propose a CSS entry to let you customize it the way you want.
Yes, to be precise more, if you want, for every new widget based on the technology SAP UI5, in the properties of these widgets, we have an entry called CSS where you can inject any CSS to customize it the way you want. Easy.
Okay, great. Is the CMC redesigned too for BI 2025?
Could you repeat the question, please? Excuse me.
The CMC, the Central Management Console, is that redesigned also in BI 2025?
No. The CMC look like the same than here's BI 4.3.
Okay. Here's a migration question. Does BI 2025 need to be set up with new infrastructure, or can it be upgraded on an existing 4.3 server?
You can, because BI 2025 can be seen as an upgrade or an update of your existing platform, but we strongly recommend to do a side-by-side upgrade.
Great. Will there be the ability to have custom hierarchies at the report level, not at the universe level?
Okay. Custom hierarchies in business objects web intelligence is not part of the BI 2025 story. We are working to make this happen for the next BI 2027.
Great. One final question. Is the Fiori Launchpad improved to allow viewing and switching between open report query panels? The previous Launchpad allowed this.
I'm not sure. I apologize for that.
Okay, no problem. So a lot of other questions we weren't able to get to. We will follow up with you on each of those questions we haven't been able to get for a session. But Eric, Gregory, I want to thank you both very much for joining us today. That was a great presentation. We really appreciate you having you here. And for everybody attending, we appreciate your attendance. We hope you enjoyed this and found this very informative. Thank you both for joining.
You're welcome. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, Alan, for the opportunity.
Thanks, everyone.